Welcome back everyone. So in this video, we're going to be taking a tour of Apple's developer website, showing you all the reasons why you should be using it. In this video, like I said, we're going to be covering the Apple developer website. The reason I thought that this would be such a great thing to look at is because when we start learning how to code, typically you can either do a Google search or you're going to do a YouTube search. You're going to start finding tutorials and you're going to start learning, which obviously you have to do. But sometimes it can be neglected of what the Apple developer site actually offers you because it's got so many key resources, and some of them actually I would think it would be hard pushed to find elsewhere, if at all, some of them. So let's have a little look through. We're going to work our way through, hopefully methodically. I hope I don't sort of go around about too many times, and we will see what we can find. And I'm going to show you all the resources that you can use and learning tools as well that Apple is offering to you. Before we get stuck into it though, obviously the whole usual YouTube spiel of if you could please either like or subscribe to the video, give us a comment below of which feature you use the most or which one you didn't know about. That would be really good. So help others get aware of that and me as well. So let's have a look at it. So first things first, let's go to the developer.apple website. This is the main page here, but obviously go to your own browser of choice and give it a search. It will bring you to the main page. Now, these links are obviously, like with any site, these are just updated links through the site as things change. Funny enough, this top one actually has changed since I planned the video to actually when I'm filming it for you now. So obviously it's going to keep up to date with the latest things. So none of these are we going to really look at because we'll see them as we go along the tabs along the top. But what we will do is we're going to go straight down to the bottom for reason number 1, which is the Apple Developer Program. Now, click on that, and it's going to give you a summary and a guide, an overview, then what's included, and then an ability to enroll in the Apple Developer Program. Now, as obviously you'll learn if you read through this, which I would recommend you do, it's basically going to introduce you to the developer program that you need to sign up for with some kind of Apple ID, whether that's your own or whether you're going to make one for being a developer or your own little company. But this is where you will link the apps that you make to go onto the App Store of whatever App Store that is, whether that's for the phone, the watch, or iPad or Mac or whatever. But they use this account to link your apps to it. So you can't add apps without this account. But what I will recommend and just explain to you as well while we're on this subject, which is good to know, is when it gets to enrollment, this will cost you money. Obviously, it's not completely free. They charge you 100 of whatever your currency is, by what I can gather, because it's £100 over here in the UK. I know it's $100 in the US. I presume in Europe it's like €100. So I presume there's a theme that carries on. Whatever currency you have, it's 100 of it for the year. So this will be a yearly annual subscription that you renew every year, paying that 100 currency for. But that will enable you to have your apps on the App Store. What I would recommend though is that you don't need to have a paid account to make apps on your own or for yourself without putting them on the App Store. Developing in Xcode, you're learning, you're doing tutorials and stuff. You don't need to be paying for this yet. I would really recommend, and I know others have recommended this when I started learning as well, of don't bother paying the money just yet. Sign up to this account. Get yourself in a position where you're ready to start putting things onto the app stores. Then pay the money. So that's just something to keep in mind with that. So that is the Apple Developer Program. Give that a read through because, well, if you want to develop apps, you're going to need it. So let's move on. And what I thought would be a logical way of doing it, we'll just work our way along these tabs. And hopefully we won't cross ourselves over too much and cover things twice, which I will plan not to do. So let's move over to the news. Reason number 2, obviously, would be having these updates. So not all of this is going to be relevant to you if you're just starting off learning how to code and develop apps, but some of it may be when you get further down the line. And especially whether you're a new, old developer, or whatever this is, whatever your state is in developing, you're going to want to know about this being a source where Apple puts out its information of what is happening to its format and its framework. So, for example, Ask Apple, this is a new feature that's involved for developers. There's price tax changes for certain countries if you're in Chile or Egypt, for example. So these things are things that you're going to want to know about later on when you're getting into development and submitting apps and working along with Apple with your own development. So the news and updates, perfect place to keep up to date with what Apple is doing, especially with this upcoming requirements. Keep a look on this if you're going to be developing apps and you're at that stage. But again, like I said, don't do it. Don't worry about it. Don't stress about it if you're brand new. Just be aware that it's here. Now, moving over then, let's do our next section, Discover. Now, this is quite an interesting little section. It kind of seems a little bit aimless at first, but it genuinely has such a wealth of information for you. Basically, it shows you through, obviously, what is out there in Apple technologies, and especially at the top here, you can see it's divided up. So whether you're developing for the phone, it gives you basically the latest aspects of the software that you can make use of for your apps. So for example, this is iOS 16. They're highlighting WidgetKit. So the widgets, you could start developing your apps to use these now, which you couldn't do before. So, and next time, obviously, whenever you're watching this, iOS 17, 18, whenever this is that you're watching, this will update to the latest bits of software that they've included that you can use as features in your application and make use of. So all of that is very interesting, and all of this is obviously something that you can use to inspire yourself for ways that you can either update your app or move your app in that direction. So that is a great resource. But I would say as well, obviously you can go really deep into all of this stuff, but having a look at these secondary tabs up here, this is a great source for new developers, which is planning your app. Apple guides you through two ways. So planning your app and submitting your app. They show you basically the Apple way of what they want you to do. So how do they want your app to feel like and look like? This is how you do it. So they've got the standards and drawing everything on screen yourself and ways that they can do it. It really is quite impressive the way that they put it through for you. Obviously, there are tutorials, but this is really quite a simplistic way of Apple explaining to developers, new developers even, how this process is going to work for you. So please do look that up. Now, what I would say is there are some links down here as well, which we're going to look at again in a bit, because I did do this before where I filmed this and I started covering things that you actually cover in the next tab. So let's not go into this, but they are all here as well. And as you read through, which I recommend you do, you will see obviously the reasons that you can go around in circles on this site a bit. So let's just have a look across to that so that I don't get too distracted and go around in circles. The Discover tab obviously is what we've just looked at with that, highlighting the aspects and features of each framework. But now it comes to the design, where we go really deep into how to design the apps. We just covered a simplistic approach of Apple showing you the process, but this will show you through the actual details, the nitty-gritty that you will need to know for making a really seamless and beautiful app or game, if you're into either one of those. And the key for this is actually our reason number 4. It is 4, isn't it? Yeah, it's 4. Reason number 4, which is these human interface guidelines. And this is Apple's intricate way of showing you all these different things. So patterns, it shows you how you're going full screen, you're launching, loading, multitasking, playing audio, playing haptics, printing, searching, all these things, all the feedback. If you're looking to use any of these things within your apps, please do check this out, because this basically is going to go, so let's go on dark mode. You want your app to have a dark mode on it or be compatible with dark mode. So it's going to show you the best practices of using dark mode. How do you do it? The dark mode colors. How do you, what should they be used for? The icons and symbols, the text. How does this all work? How have they designed it? And your app can then fit seamlessly in with this framework that they've made, which is just a brilliant way of supporting you through this process of how you're going to do it. We've even got examples here and everything with Mac, and it's just a great source that you're going to want to be using. So please do check this out, especially the generalized designing an overview. You're going to need to use that and then get deeper as you get an idea of what app you're making, designing, or whatever it may be, because it will result in a much better app. And you don't want to do something that could possibly later get rejected by Apple because it doesn't meet their guidelines. So definitely check this out. Now, one thing, before I go over to develop, let's go back, check here, because I got distracted, didn't I? So that is the meeting interface guidelines. We've got more articles and everything here, more design articles and everything like this. But now our reason number 5 that you really need to be looking at this site for is here. Now, in this process of designing and prototyping, you're going to want to make mock-ups of what this app is going to look like on any of Apple's products. Depending on what software you use, Apple has got it all covered. Sketch and XD, you've got Photoshop, you've got Keynote. All of these resources here, see, so the frameworks for the app icons, there's a design template for a Mac, you've got all of the different little icons and bits of UI that a Mac or iOS has that you can use and incorporate into your mock-ups. And it covers everything, so from watch and TV, wherever it is may be that you're looking to use. And if we scroll down even further, actually, you will see we can have access to all of the fonts. We can access to all of the symbols and all of these product outlines. So, for example, like the watch and all of the different TV and etc. It's all there for you to freely download and use in your mock-ups. So if you're going to start designing something, please come to this area of the website. This is a brilliant resource. Apart from going to somebody else and paying for what they've made, this is all free here for you to use. So do check that out. So that's our design sorted. I think I've thoroughly covered that, I believe. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. Now let's have a look over at developing, because now we go into another world. We've looked at designing everything that we can be able to use, we've designed our product, but now we want to look at how we're going to make it. And this is where they highlight all of the technologies that you're going to use. And this one, I'm going to try and keep contained and try and keep it simple, because honestly, you could go so ridiculously deep into this part of the website. It's just crazy. So we've got Xcode, obviously the software, we've got Swift, the language, Swift UI, the latest framework, and also Xcode Cloud, which is something new that they're really trying to build in. Now, if we click on any of these, it will now take you, so for example, Swift UI, you want to learn Swift UI. They give you an overview of what it is and how it works, but they will also give you now, so if you scroll across here at the top to the icons, resources, and this is the same for Swift and Xcode, it will now give you the documentation and videos. It also gives you tutorials that Apple have made themselves of how to use their software. If we go into introducing Swift UI, for example, get started, we can have a look at an app. Swift UI Essentials, creating and combining views. This is a 40-minute estimated times. They have product files and a link to download Xcode if you haven't already. And this is where they show you through in such a simplistic way and a very Apple way of teaching you how to use their products. And you'll notice this is a really cool effect. I really quite like it for tutorials, which is showing you bit by bit how you make this app, each feature of it, each screen, what you're typing and what you're changing. So use this as a brilliant resource for learning the different aspects of Swift and Apple development. It's actually customized for each of the frameworks. So if I'm going back now and I'm showing you, hang on, no, I've gone too far. Right, going to the actual Apple frameworks, it will show you each one of these, showing you developing for Mac, iPad, TV, watch, etc. Tutorials all to help you through this process. Again, obviously free tutorials are elsewhere. You've got YouTube and everything, which you may want to use, because obviously if you like their style, then that's perfect and go for it. But it's great to go back to the source and see how Apple are teaching you to use their own products, because you know it's going to be 100% reliable and up to date, because they will update this every time that they update, obviously, the software and the features. Another thing, I'm going to put this down as reason number 6, is the technologies that it will highlight to you as well. We did see before the latest features in the Discover tool of, for example, the widget kit and etc. of what they're using in the latest software. However, in Develop, going down here, this shows you all of the frameworks and the aspects of the software that you can make use of that are all there. So not just the latest stuff, all of it, which is, so for example, Music Kit, passkeys, which they're highlighting as new. App Clips, Apple Pay, all of these things. And if you go into this again, I don't want to go too far, but CarPlay, for example, or they give you an overview and they give you different features about it and tutorials and guides, and it's all there for you to use. So again, make use of this resource. Really bury yourself deep into looking through what you want to see or research. It will help you understand what you could make as an app, but also help you understand how you could program something that you're trying to develop already. So please do check this out. Now I'm going to stop there before I get too distracted going through too many different features that are in this part. And we're going to go straight across to our next tab, which is distribute. Now this, as reason number 8, is the way that we can now get taught how to distribute our apps. Again, I'm not going to cover this too deeply. I don't want to make this video too long, but you'll notice different things, Safari extensions, apps, and they give you a whole thing of how to promote your apps, submitting your apps, and how that's all going to work. So again, when you get to that stage, check it out, have a little look through it. It is just very useful. Apple are trying to help you through every single piece of this so that for their benefit, they get great apps on their app store. And for you, you get helped through learning how to make this process of making an app, which is great for you. Now, finally, obviously, we're going to cover these very quickly because there's not much to them. Support and account. So on support, obviously, this is a place where they give you the support that you're going to need as a developer and point you in the right directions. So App Store Connect, developer account, Xcode. We've got other articles, news and updates, and everything like that. You can submit bugs here and other things like that. So this is all going to be later on when you're really getting into developing your apps. Of course, you've got the agreements and guidelines. If you really want to get stuck into some heavy reading, then go for that one. And finally, obviously, the account. I mean, I'm not signed into mine, if I can click on it. But this is where you will sign in with your Apple ID. That's the developer ID. And you'll have, obviously, all of the ways to upgrade your account, edit your account, and etc. And I think, as well, I believe this is where you edit all of your apps. So if you've got apps on the App Store, you can modify all of the listings and everything as well. So that's it. That is the Apple developer website pretty much summed up. As you would have seen on there, obviously, there's quite a few resources, support articles, and all sorts that we can be able to use for learning and development. So I hope you found that useful. Please comment below which one you plan to use more or plan to look into more. Or also, if you're delving around, let us know any different ones that you find, because there's quite a lot on there if you really go rooting through all of the different links and that. So let us know below with that. Just like, subscribe if you found that useful, and wish you all the best. Take care and see you again soon.